Hello, everyone. Just to clarify, there has been a modification in the program that we have. So our next speaker is Anna Makarudze. She's a keen Pythonista from Zimbabwe, and she's going to talk to us about Python in Africa. So let's hear what she has to say.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my talk where I'm talking about Python initiatives in Africa. So before I start, I'm just going to give a brief introduction about myself. So my name is Anna Makarudze. I'm a Python Django developer from Zimbabwe. I'm also involved in a number of initiatives in Zimbabwe, which includes, we have a Python user group in Zimbabwe called PyZim. So I'm also a member and the current secretary of the organization. I'm also an organizer of PyCon Zimbabwe, Django Girls Harare, and Django Girls Masvingo. I've also helped set up PyLadies Harare in Zimbabwe, as well as a volunteer of the Django Software Foundation Code of Conduct Committee. So that's, I think, in short, about me. So how did I come to use Python? In 2015, I had just finished my postgrad, and I was looking for a new job, but I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do. So I found out about a scholarship from Muzinda Hub, which was offering digital skills training for people in Zimbabwe. So there were many languages which were being taught through online courses through Treehouse. And of the languages that that were there, there was iOS, there was Android, and front-end web development. So I didn't have anything that I was interested in. So I saw Python. So the first question that came to me was, what is Python? So I had to go online and try and Google to find more information about Python. Then I realized that Python had a lot of the functionality that I was looking for, like data science, so I decided to sign up for that course. So after learning Python through Treehouse, we started trying to help each other do projects as part of our scholarship, and that's when we started PyZim with a couple of more guys, including Humphrey, who's here with me. So when we started trying to set up a Python community in Zimbabwe, the first question that people would ask us is, what is Python? And you would have to explain Python is a programming language. You try to give them whatever you can ask. Then when we also started trying to organize like Django Girls events so that we can grow the community, the next question that we would ask was, what is Django? So this shows that Python is relatively a new language in most parts in Africa. And these questions, what is Python and what is Django, I continuously get people asking me even via Facebook. We see we are organized, always talking about events on Python, on Django. What is this thing called Python and what is this called Django? So people are still not very aware about Python and Django. And this has pushed people like me and many other Pythonistas in Africa to try and promote the use of Python in languages, Python programming language and Django through various initiatives, which I'm going to be talking about in my talk. So another question that we also get in Zimbabwe, I've also been asked about this in Namibia, is because we are trying to promote, increase the number of women in programming, like everybody else. Because people don't know about Python and Django in Zimbabwe, they don't think it doesn't make sense to talk about Django girls in a community. You are saying there are fewer women in programming, and you are trying to promote the use of Python and Django through increasing the number of women in programming. when people already don't know about Python and Django in Zimbabwe or in most parts of Africa. So the men and young boys in Zimbabwe, they're always complaining that you're always talking about Django girls. So when are you going to arrange Django boys? So it's something that we haven't really, we are trying to do initiatives that also include men, but it's a question that is still like open-ended because there are so many people who would want to know about Python, who would want to know about Django, but because they are men, they are automatically excluded from initiatives such as Django Girls. Then Python use in Africa. So in Africa we have countries, most of the countries, they are developing nations, so, but we have few developed nations such as South Africa, which have got large software powerhouses. For example, companies like Google, Oracle, Amazon. They are in countries like Nigeria, countries like Ghana, countries like South Africa. But in most countries in Africa, they are not present there. So Python use is mostly restricted to being used in education. It could be like tertiary education or high school education in developed nations. Then they also do software and web app development because there are already these companies which are using the language. And also data science is more prevalent in developed nations in Africa than in less developed nations. So when we look at Python using in developing nations, we realize that most of the people who are using Python and Django, they are using it for mainly websites and web app development. And there is limited use of Python in data science. In Zimbabwe, we recently have the University of Zimbabwe. They set up a high-performance computing center, which has got supercomputers, which would be, if they were to be effectively used, they would be used for applications such as data science. But because we have limited knowledge on data science, the center is not as used as it should be. It's not being used effectively because data science is still a new phenomenon in Zimbabwe. And recently we have universities introducing Python as the first language for programming. But for all these years, they have been using C and other languages. So Python is relatively new in Zimbabwe and other developing nations in Africa because we don't have software powerhouses that are using this language. So there are quite a number of countries in Africa which have set up Python communities. So we have Nigeria and Ghana have held the most Django Girls events, as you see in the map that I have. Then we have certain countries which have got Pi Ladies. Then we've got also countries which have hosted PyCons. So I'll just, the other events that are there. So in Africa, we only have got Django Girls, PyCons, and Pi Ladies in most countries. So as you can see, we have a number of events, Django Girls events that have been held in Africa. But if you compare with other continents, maybe except for Australia, you realize that we still have only held a limited number of Django Girls events in Africa as compared to other parts of the world. But we are happy with the progress because it means every now and then we have a new country introducing Django Girls to their cities, and then we have more people in Africa knowing about Python and Django Girls. Then from, this is a map that I got from the Python Software Foundation of Python events. So far in the, during the time that I got the map, there was only one Django Girls event in Kampala that is being shown there. And then we've only about, so far, 4 countries that have held PyCons in Zimbabwe, in Africa, sorry. One of them is Zimbabwe, South Africa, Namibia, and Cameroon. So this shows that there are still very few PyCons being held in Africa. And we hope the number will increase with time. Then the next map that we have is showing Pi ladies, the distribution of Pi ladies in Africa. And so far, there are only 5 countries which have Pi ladies. Zimbabwe is not being shown there. Then there is Nigeria, Tunisia, Madagascar, and Morocco. So of the 50-something countries, you can see that only 5 countries have got Pi ladies in Africa, which shows that Python really use is still very limited to only a number of countries in Africa. So I'll talk about only 4 countries. So the first country that I'll talk about is South Africa, and I'll not say much about South Africa because it's a developed nation. They already have an established community there, so even the events that they hold, if you compare the PyCon South Africa, it's almost as similar as and as big as probably PyCon Italy. Maybe the number of people attending the event could be slightly lower. Last year they had 384 attendees, and they had 4 streams of talks. So it's a bigger event. So I will not talk much about South Africa. They have done 2 Jungle Girls in 2 cities, Cape Town and Johannesburg for now. And they also have got Umonya project, which is Python for school children. So they already have this. This is a project that has already been running for a couple of years, where volunteers are involved in teaching Python to children who are still in primary school and high school. So the new communities that I'll feature mostly in my talk are Namibia, Nigeria, and Zimbabwe. So how did the Python community in Namibia start? So the Python community in Namibia started through an initiative between Cardiff University in UK, which their Phoenix project partnered with University of Namibia in 2015, and they organized and financed the first Python Namibia that was held in 2015. So quite a number of attendees from Namibia were introduced to Python through that very first conference. And after attending Python Namibia in 2015, they went on to set up PyNam Society, which is now the user group for Python Namibia, Pythonistas in Namibia. And after they've organized PyNam in... So these are some of the members of PyNam Society in Namibia, and they went on to start on their own initiatives, which include carrying on helping with the organization of PyCon Namibia. So PyCon Namibia has already done 3 PyCons so far, including PyCon Namibia 2016 and PyCon Namibia 2017 held this year. And one of the initiatives of PyNam Society is they started outreach programs for school children. So they started what they called PyNam Scholars. So this is aimed at introducing children who are 12 years and above to Python, and they were teaching them Python through the Raspberry Pis, which had been donated on the 2nd edition of PyCon Namibia in 2016. So these PyNam Scholars, in 2016, they entered a competition that was held by the National University of Technology in Namibia, which was a programming competition. And what was peculiar about these students is their own school didn't have computers, so they had to rely on the Raspberry Pis which they were given. But despite having that challenge that the school doesn't have a computer lab, they all went on to get a 2nd prize in the competition, which was something that they were proud of. And they are recently, during this month of April, they'll be running a conference for PyNam scholars to involve other students from different parts of Namibia, so that they too can be introduced to programming. So this is one of the initiatives that came about as an initiative from first Cardiff and University of Namibia, which went on to Pinam Society, and now there is Pinam Scholars. So it's something that we as Africans are proud of, to see young children being introduced to Python at an early age, and this is all being done through the work of volunteers. So, because I've already alluded that Pinam, they have a club which they are teaching scholars, but they do not have a computer lab at their school. They have now started a crowdfunding project through 1% Club, where they are trying to raise funds so that they can build a computer lab at the school. Most of the students from Pinam, they go to a technical college, Windhoek Technical College in Namibia, in Windhoek, Namibia. So they are running a campaign to raise funds so that they can construct their own computer lab. So if you would want to support working in Africa, this is something that you can give, donate to, so that the Namibian Pythonista Society, they can go on teaching and introducing more children to programming. So one other thing that's also happening in Namibia is Jungle Girls Windhoek. So far, the first Jungle Girls Windhoek was introduced in 2016 as part of PyCon Namibia 2016, and they ran their second edition in February as also part of PyCon Namibia. So now, from being a conference that has got workshops and talks, PyCon Namibia is now grown to feature Jungle Girls events for each and every PyCon they are holding. So this is also an improvement, and this has gone a long way in growing the community in Namibia, since most of the coaches, some of the coaches we had from this year, they had either been attendees from last year, or they learned Python at the very first PyCon Namibia that was held in 2015. So we've been witnessing tremendous growth in the Python, in the Namibian community. The Namibian community is also organizing a Women in Computing conference, and they've held one in 2016 and another one in 2017. It's also, so the aim of the Women in Computing conference is to provide mentorship and training in all areas with regards to information technology, which also includes programming, so that women are empowered, women who are in computing, as well as introducing more women to the computing discipline. So this is something also that the Namibians are doing to ensure that the Python community in their country grows. So the next country that I'll talk about is Jungle Girls, Nigeria. It's Nigeria, and the first thing that I'll talk about is Jungle Girls. So when the first Jungle Girls workshop that was organized in 2016, it was one of the organizers was Aisha Bello from Nigeria, and she was inspired by Jungle Girls Nigeria in Windhoek, as well as PyCon Namibia, such that she went on to start a community in her own country. So the first Jungle Girls workshop was held in Lagos, and after Lagos, there have been 29 more events scheduled across Nigeria. Some of the events have already taken place, and some are to be will be taking place very soon. But I think Nigeria is the country with most Jungle Girls events, which total 30. So this is a community which has grown from Python Namibia, and learned from Python Namibia. And another initiative that has been done also in Nigeria is PyLadies Nigeria. So following the first Jungle Girls Lagos, they went on to set up PyLadies Nigeria, and some of the women in the photograph, they were also attended the first Jungle Girls Lagos. And PyLadies Nigeria have done an initiative which is not so common in Africa, because they are running full courses that take beginners to intermediate levels in 6 months. So they are working on actually mentoring developers by running this 6-month course. And they've managed to churn out a lot of developers who have also gone to start new initiatives, such as the Nigerian Carrington Youth Initiative. This is also aimed at introducing Python to high school students. And this is, the high school students are taken through a boot camp that introduces them to Python and other related frameworks. So Nigeria also faces the same problem like Namibia, that of computers. So, and most of the youth under the Carrington Youth Initiatives, they had to be taught using Raspberry Pis, which had been bought through the support of the Python Software Foundation. Then Nigeria also have started Pi Data Lagos meetups, and most of these members, they are a result of Django Girls Lagos and Pi Ladies alumni. And they've also done a partnership with Data Science Nigeria community that supports data science boot camps. And the next country that I'll talk about will be Zimbabwe. Then Nigeria also holding their first PyCon this year in 2017. And this is a new initiative again in Nigeria. So Zimbabwe, we have managed to hold Django Girls in 3 cities, which are Harare, Chinhoyi, and Masvingo. And we have introduced a number of women through Django Girls, to programming through Django Girls. The first Django Girls Chinhoyi will be running this weekend, so we are very excited about it. Then we've also managed to organize PyCon Zimbabwe, and this was organized entirely by volunteers with limited external support. And we are happy that we managed to organize a conference which brought about speakers from as far as the United States and other parts of Africa. We are also having Pi Ladies Harare, which is a mentorship group that seeks to increase the number of women in programming and also offer support to women who choose to program with Python. Our meetups, we have managed to meet at least once every month, and we are glad with the progress. And this is something that we have also managed to set up as a community in Zimbabwe. Then Zimbabwe has also introduced ZimboPi, which is an initiative which is aimed to introduce young girls to programming. But I will not give details about this this initiative, because we have Marlene who will be sharing in detail as one of the founder members of ZimboPi. So for more details on ZimboPi, you can listen to Marlene's talk. She worked with Ronald to start this initiative. Ronald is another member of ZimPi, so you can follow her talk and listen and learn more about ZimboPi and what they are doing to empower young girls. And then the next thing that I'll talk about is upcoming PyCon events in Africa. So we already had PyCon Namibia in February this year. And if you are thinking of coming to Africa, I'll take this opportunity to invite you to PyCon Zimbabwe on the 23rd to 26th of August in Harare. Zimbabwe is a beautiful country. We've got very fine weather, and we've got interesting places that you can visit also, like the Victoria Falls, Great Zimbabwe, just to name a few. So if you are looking for somewhere to go on holiday and also to make a difference, you can respond to our CFP and submit a talk, or just come to support us. We will be willing to have you also. Then PyCon Nigeria will also be taking place on the 15th to the 16th of September in Lagos. So that's another country you can visit and attend their PyCon. Then PyCon South Africa will be held on the 5th to the 6th of October 2017 in Cape Town. And that's another African destination you can think of visiting. So I was giving a presentation at DjangoCon Europe, and I was telling them that one of the challenges that we have in Africa is that of finding conference speakers. So when you have so many, like DjangoCon Europe, they had over 110 proposals when they only needed 30 speakers. And I don't think the 80 that were rejected were because they were not good proposals, but it was because they do not fit the time schedule that is there. So if you're looking for someone, you can make an impact, and you can submit your proposal to any of the PyCons in Africa who are looking for speakers. And the chances of getting a spot as a keynote speaker, or just as a conference, as a workshop speaker, or giving a talk, your chances are high in Africa because we have got a very high demand for speakers. So I'm taking this opportunity to invite you to respond to the CFPs that have been opened in Africa. Then there are countries which are also planning to start their own PyCons. And they include Uganda, Mozambique, Botswana, Zambia, and Morocco. So they have learned from other countries who have been successful, like Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and Namibia, who have managed to start their communities. And they're also planning to start Python communities. So you can also support these countries and help them start their own Python communities. And I wouldn't have done justice to my talk if I didn't tell you of the challenges that we face in Africa. And one of the things that we face is funding. When we're trying to organize events, we have, like in my case, Zimbabwe doesn't have all those big companies, and most of the companies in Zimbabwe are not using Python. So companies don't see the need to support a language which they are not using. So we are also sharing our concerns with you. If you can support us by funding our events, especially all the PyCons that I've already spoken about, we'll be very appreciative. And the other issue that we also face is that most of the people in Zimbabwe cannot afford to buy a laptop or a computer. So they would want to take part in Django Girls events, but the reason why we have low applications is the number of applications of people who apply to join our workshops is usually low, because people don't, the Django Girls, usually you have to bring your own laptop for you to take part in the workshop. And if somebody doesn't have a laptop, even if they want to learn programming, they can't attend. So it's another challenge that we normally have in Africa, that people do not have computers. So if you've got any computers probably that you are not using, they will be very useful and to somebody else in Africa. Then the other challenge that we've also had to face was the lack of knowledge on how to set up open source communities, because open source is something that is very new to Africa. So I'm glad that I'm talking to you after there have been a number of presentations on mentorship. So if you're looking for someone to mentor, I can assure you there are so many people in Africa who are looking for mentorship in various ways. It could be programming, but it could also be just how to set up a Python user group in their own community. And if you feel you can help them organize a community, we would be grateful if you can just reach out, or if you have somebody who reaches out to you asking for help on how they can set up their community, and you can help them. Because like I have said, we already have countries which are interested in setting up their own communities, but they lack the know-how. And as somebody who has yet to struggle the issue of lack of information on how I can organize a community in my own area, I can appreciate what these guys go through. So if you can help by mentoring some people in Africa, we will be very grateful. And another challenge that I've already talked about now is lack of Python mentors. So if you're feeling that probably organizing events is not your thing, but you can mentor someone on Python, we are looking for people who can mentor young African programmers on the various subjects on Python. And we are willing to, if you can be a mentor, we are willing to work with you so that we can groom many African Pythonistas who are keen to learn Python, but only lack the barrier of lacking mentors within their reach. Then the other challenge that we also face is because there are a limited number of companies using Python in Africa, it also means that there are a lack of Python jobs in Africa. So if you are considering probably hiring remote workers, you'll find that Africa has many people who are looking for jobs than jobs looking for people, and Africa can actually be recruitment pool for you. So if you're asking how can I contribute to the growth of Python in Africa, you can contribute either through mentorship, or you can contribute by attending conferences, submitting a talk, or doing a tutorial, or helping other people organizing. You can also help promote Python in Africa by sponsoring events or by recruiting from Africa. So if you are wondering how do I get in touch with Python, we have a mailing list, pythonafrica@python.org, which you can join and you can get information on whatever is happening in Africa. You can also, most of us, we are on Twitter. You can follow our events via Twitter, and you can get information on what's happening in Africa. Then as volunteers in Africa, we are looking forward to a day probably where we'll be able to hold a DjangoCon Africa, or probably PyCon Africa, or even have a regional conference like DjangoCon Southern Africa. So this is something that we are working towards, and if you can support us maybe one day by attending, we'll be very grateful. So that's all from me. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Thank you very much, Anna. Let's move to the Q&A. Any questions?
Hi, thank you very much for coming here. My question is, what is the impact you have on your community, in the sense of, I don't know, do you have an example of a project that actually had a good impact on the community outside Python and all these programs? So I mean, I don't know, I've worked sometimes with the NGO, and they make website with geolocalizations and things like that. But I was wondering what kind of programs do you teach, or which impact you have on the community?
Thank you for your question. For now, the aim of our initiatives has been to reach out to people and introduce them to Python. So we haven't really worked on a project that has been deployed out there so far. But it's something that we are now working towards. That's why we are looking for mentors who can help us in that. We have Mentorship Week, which is being organized by Zimbabwe this week, and they are trying to work on a project, but again, I will not share the details, but it's something that is work in progress. We are working towards having developers from Africa and Zimbabwe collaborate on a project, and then we deploy. I was also talking to a number of people at DjangoCon Europe who are who have projects that they want to work with us as part of mentoring developers from Africa. So that's something that we are now trying to work towards, because after PyCon Zimbabwe, we managed to discover that there were already quite a number of people who are using Python. So I think that's our next step of working towards a collaboration. That's from Zimbabwe. I'm sure, I know there could be a number of people who have done other projects in their locations, but as you can see, I mainly spoke of upcoming communities, Nigeria and Zimbabwe and Namibia. So for those communities, nothing has been done yet, but I know probably somewhere in Africa, there are certain people who have done a project that they have deployed, but I didn't feature it in my talk.
I was just, is this on? Okay. I was just wondering to what degree connectivity is an issue for developing Python. Most of us in the room probably have internet access all the time. Is that a problem that you see, or is it you can't even get the computers yet?
Okay, for us, in terms of connectivity, our states are very good. We have got a high penetration rate, but most people, they use the internet via their mobile phone. So most people have got mobile phones than computers. Of course, there's the issue of bandwidth being a bit expensive, because most of the time, if you want to buy, you have to buy per megabyte. And if you are going to buy promotions, if you buy 1 gig, it expires for a day. If you want to buy data that expires probably that lasts a month, it becomes more expensive. So connectivity is there, but people can't afford the data. And most of them, they don't have computers, but people do have access to the internet via their phones.
I don't know. I just wanted to answer the question he asked. There's an organization in South Africa called Prikelt. They've developed a messaging system called Vumi. You can check it out on GitHub. I think it was used in the election system in Libya also.
Thank you.
Hello, Anna, and thank you. You already partially answered this question because you said that you have lack of jobs in your countries. But I'm interested, are the companies now following your initiatives, courses to look for people to hire? You see their demands of people programming?
Okay, we have bigger companies which are starting to use Python in data science. So, but unfortunately for us also, people are also starting to learn data science. So I think we need probably maybe a year or two, and we'll have more companies in Zimbabwe rallying towards the use of Python, because now they see that they actually have Python programmers in Zimbabwe. Currently, most of the companies, they outsource development work from countries from the Asia, Europe, America, and the like. So we are trying also by promoting the growth of Python developers in Zimbabwe. We are also trying to make sure that companies in Zimbabwe and in other parts of Africa, they realize that they actually have talent in their own countries which they can get without really having to pay for flight tickets and the like, because most of the software systems, they are being supported by people who have to be flown into the country and, to and from.
Other questions, comments, anything?
So I'd like to know what are the action steps that we as externals can take to help you. I mean, you mentioned mentoring or submitting call for proposal for a talk, but where can we find an email or a form to, register ourselves as mentors? Is there a website that we can go?
So Mentorship Week is going to be hosted by my organization, which is called Zimbo Pi. Anna talked about it a bit, but I'll also be giving a talk on Sunday about it. And you can basically find a form online where you can register to be a mentor virtually, or you can actually come to Zimbabwe and mentor girls for a week. So we are looking for people to mentor teenage girls mainly, and also girls that are in university. Yeah. And, it's zimbopi.com. So Zimbopi, that was the question. I went over. But the address is the email. No, you can just look up ZIMBOPY.com. Yeah.
Okay. You can also support us. I've talked about conferences. You can also support us if you cannot come. probably you can help us by donating to one of the conferences. It will go a long way in making sure that we are able to reach participants who cannot afford to pay for the conference ticket. So most of the people probably they would want to attend conferences like this, even in Africa, but still fail to afford the conference ticket. So we're looking for people who can sponsor us, probably as corporate sponsors or even as individuals. You can help sponsor our events. That will also go a long way in promoting Python in Africa. And you can also consider probably hiring from Africa as well. That is something that will actually help us in the long run, because if we've got developers who are getting jobs and being well paid, it means they can also give back to their community by supporting the conferences and events that we are organizing. So that's another way that you can help us as externals.
Do you also accept in-kind donations?
Yes.
Like if I have some old computers, can I send them?
Yes. We also accept old computers. So if you've got computers that you feel they are obsolete, you'll be shocked that in Zimbabwe, people are still using dual-core laptops and they hold them with very high regard, because at least they have a laptop. It's better than not having anything. So all those are probably laptops that you think they are obsolete. If you send them, they will go a long way in helping somebody who wants to learn programming, but they are disadvantaged such that they can't afford to have their own laptop.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much, Anna.